What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Paranormies present the Ahnenerbe Hour. I am Johnny Monoxide. Tonight, I'm joined by Hazard McRee and some special guests. We have from therightstuff.biz, the one, the only, Mike Enoch. What's up, Mike?
Oh God. Hello, sir.
Oh, God. Hello, sir. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How's everybody?
Right on. We have also with us, we have Gaius Tacitus from CultureConf.
Yo,
Sir?
What's up, my niggas?
What up? Always good to be working with the CultureConf guys.
Gotta bring that philosophizing and she.
And the very special guest, Miss Emily Euclid. Hello.
Yes, hello, sir.
Oh, God, hi.
How are you?
Cartoonist and famous BTFOer of Gavin McInnes.
That's right.
Well, that's not exactly hard to do. I mean, you leave the man alone for 30 minutes in front of a camera. He's going to BTFO himself.
Yeah, he does.
Probably with a butt plug.
Leave the hazard to just fuck that all up. All right, thanks, bud. How's everybody doing? This is the special emergency edition of the Paranormies present. We normally do this on a Friday, but a lot of happenings have happened in the past couple days that required us to come back from our little vacation after a live show to talk to some people about some stuff.
You know, Johnny, honestly, the way our luck always goes, we should have known the moment we decided we were taking the week off, shit was going to go down.
Well, you had to know shit was going to go down this week, of all weeks.
I know. We didn't think things through.
Well, we thought shit was going to happen, but we didn't think it was going to be like Paranormies type shit.
Yeah. Well,
we were expecting a rape
first
video,
mistake.
From Trump.
I thought that was in your wheelhouse.
Say that again?
I thought that was in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, totally.
Rape video from Trump. Yeah.
Well, you see, Mike, what happened is, as soon as we decided to take a vacation, we took the tinfoil hats off, so the Zog mind control just started affecting our decision making.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, in terms of the Trump, if I could just say one word on the Trump rape tape that was supposed to come out and has not.
Oh, please do.
That this was this entire we are going to drop the bomb in the last week and weekend that, we've seen people on Twitter, most notably Cuck Wilson and Frank Luntz and a few others. Not only was did this not materialize, but one of the things that they had up their sleeve, which was this child rape claim against Trump, has now been dropped. Yesterday, that lawsuit, which was this woman who was encouraged by this reality TV producer, to do a Donald Trump raped me when I was 13 accusation, has now basically retracted that and dropped the lawsuit. So that whole case that they were hoping to have against him has fallen apart. And not only that, but it's like it was always kind of shady because it's like it involved Jeffrey Epstein, and it's like I don't think these people want to be shining the light on Jeffrey Epstein.
Exactly. Right. I mean, given Bill Clinton's involvement with anything, I've been just absolutely shocked that anybody wants to talk about anything involving any sort of sexual misconduct in this entire election cycle. But
yeah, I mean the whole groping stuff, I mean, it didn't surprise me. I mean, they had to run with it, but when they're getting into, like this kind of stuff specifically, and Epstein specifically, who has a much closer tie to Bill Clinton than he ever did to Donald Trump. I mean, there's allegations of Donald
Hillary
Trump
too.
Yeah, and Hillary Clinton as well. Yeah. So they don't really want to break open that whole Epstein ball of wax and any of that, but but it's basically this whole thing is now done. And I also think that, I'm not sure, but I think that this was a troll, this was a gaslighting, this was 4chan basically gaslit a few sort of low-tier conservative pundits into believing this. Like, I think Rick Wilson was the target, and I think he was gaslit by 4chan trolls that told him, yeah, we got tapes of Trump raping women or something. Supposedly people on 4chan did this, and they were offered money. Like, people started offering them like $5,000 for these tapes. But those threads have all been deleted, so I don't remember all the details.
I think I know this post you're talking about, and I have a screen cap of that.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Well, yeah. So so there's our non-paranormal happening that didn't happen.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Anyway,
no, it's totally fine. Because actually, I was talking about that earlier today, and the reason why that it went away is because the girl was getting death threats, which I thought was.
That's what they say.
And how can I ask just one question? How can an anonymous Jane Doe be getting death threats?
Right.
From who?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, where were they sending him to? To whom?
Exactly. Yeah, I know. Who were they sending them? We're going to kill somebody. We don't know who it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
The normies believe this. Right, Emily?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that they do. I mean, this is the thing about this is that there was even prior to Trump becoming the number. This suit existed prior to the election. Okay, so you can find materials prior to the election with people dismissing it as yet another attempted shakedown of a rich man. Mm-hmm. Even the Guardian and Jezebel. Yeah, I know. But even you can find articles from the Guardian and Jezebel that basically say there's nothing here. This is bullshit. Right. Jezebel, of all places.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're definitely hitting the point where we have hit, like, peak Lugenpress fatigue, you know? Mm-hmm. We saw with all the BLM shit over the past 2 years, where the point where we hit Dindu fatigue, but now it's just... Even normies are realizing that the media has just turned into a lying shit-slinging contest. Who can smear the most on their opponents?
Mm-hmm.
That's why people are turning to the internet for their news now. So
yeah, and I think that it's so partisan that nobody's going to believe anything bad about their guy, and they're going to believe everything bad about the other side. I mean, we're not immune to it. But, I think we're a little bit more rational because, I don't actually care. Well, it's not that I don't care, but...
I can't see Trump as having done this because if you actually take a look at his actions since, like, the 80s and even back into the 70s, there's some decently clear signs that he was entertaining notions of a presidential run even back then and trying to make sure he kept himself at least decently clean.
Well, I mean, I think Trump likes women. I think he likes hot women. And I think he likes to surround himself with hot women. And I think, he likes to flirt with them and stuff like that. I don't see him raping 13-year-olds. I think there's a clear line. Like, the guy obviously likes...
He likes supermodels.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he's had some affairs and things like that. But, raping 13-year-old Russian prostitutes is not really in his wheelhouse, I don't think.
No, I don't see
he doesn't need to rape. I mean, that's the funny
He's
thing.
a multi-billionaire.
He's got billions of dollars. Like, I cannot relate to how a billionaire relates to women. I don't know what it's like. I do not know what it's like to have every single thought in the universe trying to jump on your dick. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that's like. So, like,
well, not only are you a billionaire, but you're a good-looking billionaire on top of it. It's not like you're a fucking Jewish billionaire with squat, giant nose, curly hair, bad teeth,
Yeah,
but it happens
a good-looking billionaire who is extremely charismatic and has a force of personality that
you sound like you're turned on there a little bit.
I don't know. Is Trump sexual a thing now?
Oh boy, let's not go down this route. Okay.
All right, so there was another happening that was to the wheelhouse of the Paranormies with the email leaks, the hashtag spirit cooking. You guys saw this, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw it.
No, I'm joking, yeah. The original thing was it a 1997 video from some performance artist?
Marina Abramovich.
She might have been Serbian.
Abramovic.
Is what they said. Yeah.
That C is actually pronounced. It's actually pronounced ch. That's
oh yeah.
It's Abramovich.
You sometimes see names with the C or the CH, and the H is trivial. It doesn't matter. They're pronounced the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. If it had a TZ, she's still a fucking Jew.
Has it been confirmed that she is a Jew?
Absolutely, 100%. There's no question. Look, there is no question. And it's not, look, her name, okay, I don't even know why this was ever something that people were, I don't know why this is something people were ever speculating on that it wouldn't be true. Her name means son of Abraham. That is the most Jewish Slavic name you can have. Not only that, after this came out, her Wikipedia was edited to change where it said she is of Jewish ancestry to she is of Serbian ancestry.
Oh, shite.
Right.
And you can see the edit.
Locked.
The other thing they scrubbed was that her parents were communist partisans in Serbia.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, .mp3.
Oh, they scrubbed that already? Because I saw that part on the Wikipedia, but when I checked, they did erase the Jew part and replace it with Serbian.
Well,
yeah, that's on the Wikipedia edit.
I saw before and after an 8-poll where that was scrubbed.
She's definitely a Jew. You can look at her. I mean, the nose knows. There's
another reason to think so is because her family were higher ups in the Yugoslavian Communist Party, and therefore, if you actually read, I read an article that was a little bio of her that talked about her childhood, and yes, her parents were higher ups in the Yugoslavian Communist Party. Therefore, they led a privileged existence in a very large apartment in Belgrade, and she went to private school and art school and had every privilege in the world, while the rest of the Goyim peasants were starving. So, real nice, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, she makes artwork, her so-called artwork, making fun of these, these stupid Goy peasants, and their dumb, their dumb traditions and things like that. It's actually really pisses me off.
Oh, her beautiful, beautiful art.
Yeah, it's wonderful, right?
So
right up there,
real classy.
Modern art is disgusting and perverse.
Modern art.
Oh, it echoes.
Yeah.
Of course, it does.
Yeah.
Well, now we're going into the territory of modern art. Is not just disgusting and gross, but it's actually channeling demons into the physical plane.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely. There's some of it. Like, they're doing stuff with blood.
Yeah, well, I mean, feminist painting in menstrual blood has been a thing, right? Like, that's been a thing for a while. Not really my thing, but people have been doing this for attention for a while. So, like, when I first saw this stuff, that's what I thought was going on. I was like, is this another one of these? Like, and it is sort of what's going on, because it's still like a crazy person, a crazy woman, like trying to get attention. But this is going a little deeper than that. Like, this is like some weird shit.
Did all that blood in the room come out of her vagina herself?
It was pig's blood, I believe.
No, that was pig.
Yeah, it was
the video with her, that's pig.
No, I know, because it was a whole room's worth. And she's like 69. She's not menstruating anymore.
Yeah.
Did you
she's
see?
69, but looks like she's 30.
It's because of all the blood libels.
It's because of all those sacrifices. This year.
Now,
all the sacrifices.
Here's something that just occurred to me. Do you guys think that, we have someone who is of Jewish ancestry who is engaging in things that could definitely be said to have some sort of occultic ties. Given her Jewish ancestry, do you think that there is any significance to her using the blood of pigs? Do you think that may be some sort of violation of taboo? Because I know that in a lot of occult rituals, that can be a big component of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously significance to it. And I think that there's, my view is this. Okay, so I know I'm not really a believer in supernatural things. However, I do think that the Marina Abramovich and her artwork and her appeal to the people that like her so-called artwork, if you can call it that, is fits into a narrative, fits well into the narrative on Jewish influence, rather than and like the fact that she is in fact doing this transgressive stuff. She's doing things that are taboo. She's violating all the sensibilities of the religion of the Goyim, and she's doing it in this way. And it's entertainment for the elite. It's very titillating for them. It's very exciting to go and be involved in something so she has a history
of religious transgression and messing around with religious taboos. I mean, her Twitter handle is Maria Abramovic 666.
Yeah.
Oh, but she's not a Satanist, guys. Don't jump to conclusions.
She has an upside-down cross on her wiki page.
Hold on, one at a time.
Which I actually have to digress. I find that hilarious anytime a Satanist attempts to use an upside-down cross, because if you actually look into your Catholic dogma, that is actually still a Catholic symbol. It was the cross that St. Peter was crucified on. He was crucified upside down because he didn't feel that he was worthy of being killed in the exact same manner as Christ.
Yes, he was crucified upside down on Vatican Hill in Rome, which is where the Vatican exists now.
There's pictures of Chelsea Clinton wearing a St. Peter's cross, and everybody's going, "Oh, she's a Satanist." Look, no, she's just wearing a St. Peter's cross. Calm down.
Really, I'm surprised she's wearing any Christian symbol at all.
Yeah, they're not Catholics.
I'm surprised that any member of the Clinton family doesn't burst into flames on contact with any sort of cross, but...
Right.
Well, maybe it is a satanic cross then.
Probably. Did you see this article where she has had 3 abortions and she's proud of it?
Yes, I did see that. Yes. I did see that. Yes, that's... Yes. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Marina Abramovich, not Chelsea Clinton.
I wouldn't...
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea Clinton
had because
3 abortions either.
But who would fuck Chelsea Clinton, though? I mean, come on.
Well, they found someone that did.
That she's married
You're
to.
ugly.
It's a Jew.
You saw the Sam Hyde thing, right?
Yes,
it was a little disappointing, but I saw it.
Well, it didn't make as big of a splash as it maybe we were hoping for, but whatever. But yes, I did see this that Abramovich has had. And dude, if you actually read like her in her own words, it's just she's just a horrible person. She's just a terrible person, and it doesn't surprise me that this kind of person doing this kind of thing is something that like a corrupt and decadent elite class has like turned into like a ritual thing that is like a thing that the special people know about and the special people go to. And she's got a house. I think her house is built in the shape of a pentagram. Well, for her 60th birthday party, she had a bunch of elites over, and she collected her own tears, and then all the drinks served at her 60th birthday party had her own teardrops in them. Like, this is just like, what the fuck kind of narcissistic shit is this?
Well, it's the sort of
Kubrick thing.
It's the sort of weird esoteric behavior that the elite are prone to getting into. I mean, you take a look back at Weimar Germany and the decadent elite there, and I'm sure you'll say the exact same sort of thing. And as we've said before on this show, I mean, we did a pretty good episode on the Bohemian Grove, but as we made sure to say at the end of that episode, it doesn't even necessarily matter if you don't believe in these things or if you think they're foolish. What the truth is that the people that run everything believe in them, or at least have enough of inklings and suspicions to at least pay homage to them.
Well, the thing is with this kind of art or performance or whatever you want to call it is that in a way, like I'm actually willing to believe like this is considered performance art by her and the people that go do it. But there's an aspect of it that it's like, if you're doing that kind of a thing, if you're painting in pig's blood, ancient recipes involving breast milk, semen, and blood that you then bake into a pie and eat on the night of an earthquake, which I'm almost positive that's some kind of ancient Babylonian spell or ritual. Or I talked about this yesterday.
It is.
It's coming out of something ancient, and in a way, like if you're going to do this as quote unquote performance art, like if you don't immerse yourself in it, it's pointless. Like, why are you doing it? Unless, I'm doing it ironically, like, no. This is like immersive. So you're getting into this and like buying into this on like a deep level. And, whether you think like you're going to affect the outer world with this or whatever, it's a sign, I think, of an extremely decadent elite that is totally detached and contemptuous of the people that they rule over.
Definitely. A YouTuber going by the name of Sticks and Hammer. He does a lot of videos on the paranormal, the occult. He did one recently.
All right, YouTube.
About this whole spirit cooking thing, where he said that it's not necessarily an occult ritual in and of itself. Although, I don't know that with 100% certainty. But it does, even if it is a performance art piece, they took as many occult symbolisms and just motifs as they could and just smashed it all together.
No, it's definitely an occult ritual. It comes from Crowley and even back from before. the Tacitus, we were talking about this earlier, right?
Yeah. A lot of what Crowley adopted and promoted, he took from Eliphas Levi, whose real name was Alphonse Constant, and his main work was transcendental magic. Where this guy got it, that's where it gets rather nebulous. And Crowley himself built on it, expanded on it, and a lot of the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientalis recipes involve basically semen cakes, semen blood cakes.
That was Aleister Crowley's little clan, right?
Yeah, that was Crowley. That was before he founded the Dilemma. And they would do a transubstantiation of these semen blood cakes into, I think, the body of Horus.
I mean, if you take a look at it, I mean, if you think about things from a metaphysical point of view, those are the two bodily fluids of life. The creation of life and the sustaining of life.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the generative force.
Well, that makes sense.
Semen blood cakes, then. Okay.
Yes.
See,
and actually, Mike, to be fair, there's semen blood latkes. Right? Just like my booby used to make. I'm passing. But to be fair, there is a religious aspect to all this too, isn't there, Mike? With the blood and
well, I mean, okay, there's a lot of I'm not familiar with all religious stuff and like the Satanism stuff I don't really know much about. I mean, I know the symbolism of it and such. I mean, but there's a lot of blood stuff in religion generally, right? Like, I mean, blood is all over the place in religion. And going back to sort of the earliest Yahwistic volcano demon theology, like my opinion is that essentially when you're reading the Old Testament, you're reading a story about a demon that gave land to a people in exchange for foreskin. So, that's and there's many things like this in the very Old Testament where, I believe that Saul ordered David, in order to marry his daughter, to go and get 200 foreskins of the Philistines.
Ooh.
And
now, Mike, I'm assuming we're not. I'm assuming we're not talking that it's a literal exchange of foreskin. I think we can definitely agree that a lot of this is about the intent and will behind this act of what some would call mutilation and sacrifice.
Oh, you think so? I'm actually not entirely sure of that. I think it could just literally be the foreskin is what powers
I
the
can chime in here
demon.
with a little bit of
I'm
context.
with Mike on this.
In the Talmud, I forget exactly which tractate, it is written that there are two types of blood pleasing to Yahweh, and it's the blood of the circumcision and the blood of Passover. So that's the blood of cutting parts of your dick off and the blood of making a sacrifice to Yahweh. And then what a lot of people don't know is during the original Hanukkah incident, when the Maccabeans finally overtook the Canaanites, I believe, they cut the dicks, the foreskins off of all of them, all the men.
Yeah, no, this is the thing, dude.
Yeah, they circumcised them all. Yeah.
If you want to really get rustled, okay. So we also know about the I don't know. There's the word for it, the oral suction circumcision.
Yeah,
we know about that.
Mitzvah,
Right?
it's called mitzvah b'peh.
It's a mitzvah.
Okay, right. Okay, so we know about this, but if you want to get very rustled, and this is why, like, I know there are people that are into the anti-circumcision activism, and I know there are people that counter-signal those people saying it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal, you're crazy. Now, of all the things, and I know I don't usually get into conspiracy stuff, or I try to avoid it, but of all the things I'm going to be into it, I don't even know if it's a conspiracy or what, but I'm 100% in for the anti-circumcision stuff. Like, do not circumcise your children. It's cruel, it's terrible, it's not something that needs to be done. There's no health reason for it. And in fact, what you're doing, in my opinion, when you do that, is you are carving like Yahweh into your child's body.
It's the mark of the Jew.
It really is. And we have a whole n- of men who have, and this, look, it happened to me. I'm sure it happened to many others in this conversation and many others of our fans. Nothing to be ashamed of. It's happened when you were a baby. You couldn't do anything about it, but you had the mark frankly, of Jewish power carved into your flesh.
Yep.
When you were a baby. That rustles me every time I think about it. That's why I will never circumcise any of my children. If I have any, I encourage anybody with children or looking to have children, do not circumcise your children.
Avoid a Jewish obstetrician.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't let them tell you that it's something that has to be done. There are doctors that will refuse the parents' will on this.
Isn't that? Can't you sue them for that? If
you would
tell
hope
them,
so.
No,
You would
don't.
really hope so.
Get a lawyer in advance.
Oh my god!
You suspect it.
I will never cut my child. It's not right out of the womb. Let's cut the dick.
Don't. Never.
No, I will never.
Getting to the Paranormies aspect of it, one thing that has been speculated as to the reason why, a functional reason why, is the intense emotional trauma induced on the baby by having his dick cut causes a change in the amygdala structure and how it responds to emotional stimuli, which makes him much more malleable, controllable.
I mean, that's possible, but that could be a physical manifestation of what we were talking about. If you remember, we had on the Daily Show several weeks ago, we had it was an autiste where he talked about this, about how, and like all things autiste, it sounds crazy at the beginning, but by the end of it, you're nodding your head. And he talked about how the circumcision ritual was essentially making Aryan men spiritual cuckolds. And I believe this. It's like whether or not, and this is the physical manifestation of that in fact this trauma does in fact release a hormone or a chemical that creates this chemical reaction in the brain. Like I don't know anything about this, okay? But I can see how sort of on a metaphysical level. Now this autiste went so far as to say like he wants to see the penis of everybody in the movement to see, to see if they've been spiritually cucked or not. And oh my god, that might be going a little bit too far.
That's a little extreme.
Wait, hold up, Mike. Was this autiste written by Dante? Maybe.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was actually. There's actually a guy, a crazy guy that leaves comments around on various alt-right websites.
That was the one on Greg Johnson's Countercurrents. Wasn't it?
That one. Yeah, he leaves comments on other sites as well, but. I forget the name of the guy. It's really the guy. Like the funny thing is, you read them, and you're like nodding your head, and you're like, he's got a point. He's definitely got a point there, and it's pretty funny. But he's, he expresses himself in a very hilarious way. But
yeah, that was really funny, autiste. Actually,
I mean,
it was, but like everything autiste, he's right. He's not wrong.
Oh no, he was completely right. Like by the end of that thing, I was like, no, that's exactly what fucking happened. Aside from the fact that I'm pretty sure the doctor that did mine owes me like 1.5 inches. So
that would be kind of very long and flappy foreskin there.
No, I'm just saying, like, Well, no, here's the thing: is like, why do Christians allow this Jewish tradition? Is it because Christians are like, well, he's not going to be using it for pleasure anyways. Go ahead and cut it.
Well, I mean, honestly, the big thing about Christians really, it's always been something that goes along with Christianity. But the one that really spread it was a doctor by the name of John Kellogg, and he pushed it as a way to stop young boys from masturbating. He also recommended putting carbonic acid onto the clitorises of young girls to pretty much kill off nerve endings.
Oh, please, no. Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
It's all we got.
Talk about your giny tingle.
It's one of those things where he was a Seventh-day Adventist, but
there you go.
I mean,
Kellogg, make sure he doesn't echo.
Shabbos-goy?
Or is he like extremely Shabbos-goy? That was the one thing. It's like the Jews convinced, because it's a Jewish tradition. I mean, it's like nobody else, no other group in history.
Yeah, European Christians don't get it done.
Right, but it's only because Western Christianity's kiked?
Only for the best of Goyim.
I have. There's various theories on this and how they got, and it wasn't even a thing in America before the middle of the 20th century. So the question is, how did that start? How did this happen? And I think multiple ways it happened. I think one way it happened is that it was recommended by the American Medical Association as a practice for health reasons, and also people were just generally tended to be sort of obedient and conformist, and if the doctor tells them we're doing this and it's for the good of the child, that they'll be like, oh, we trust you, Mr. Doctor Man. And
so you don't think like the American Medical Association might have been like, you know, a lot of
controlled by Jews? No, there's no way that the American Medical Association was
not at all.
No, I know that's a conspiracy theory, dude. That's crazy.
Joking.
Well, I was about to say, where do you think you are, Mike?
I know, I'm joking. Obviously,
no, I know Mike's joking. It's double facetiousness hazard. Your autism can't detect it.
So one conspiracy I'm going to chime in here. If any of you know about the Society of B'nai B'rith, which is Brotherhoods of the Covenant, they are the ones that push for, or rather push against anti-circumcision laws. So when a city, and it's usually the hippie cities like San Francisco, pass those laws, it's always B'nai B'rith who funds the legal defense to get it removed. I don't know offhand whether or not they had a hand in normalizing this in the normies originally. Would I be surprised? No.
I think the normalization of it was presented as medical. I think it was presented as.
I think that was the veil it was presented in, but there could have been ulterior motives.
Well, obviously, there's ulterior motives. I'm not questioning that.
There, literally, the only real medical value circumcision has is it can prevent what is it called? Phimosis, if the kid doesn't clean their fucking dick well.
But you gotta just get some soap, man. Jeez.
Yeah, just teach your kid to fucking wash their dick. The only other the only other thing is the only other medical reason for it is there are some cases where, due to an abnormally short foreskin, like you can't get a full fucking erection. In which case, circumcision, you can do that there. But other than that, there's no fucking.
Wait. If it's abnormally short, you can't get an erection, but it's like containing.
It's too tight.
Yes.
Oh,
It's too tight.
Ow!
The turtleneck sweater's too tight.
Ow!
Then you just gotta snip it a little,
small.
right?
It doesn't fit.
Oh,
Right, you
God.
don't even have to cut it
sir.
off.
We're gonna have to cut it off, Bobby. Come here.
No, just snip
Jesus
it.
Christ! Ouch! Ow! Thinking about that is painful.
Listen,
I mean,
Rabbi
I
Herschel's
think-
gonna come over and he's gonna put your winky in his mouth. Okay.
Jesus Christ!
I mean, I think the interplay between Christianity and Judaism is really pretty fascinating. During the live show, During the live show, I had a conversation with Weave, if anybody wants to go listen to that. But basically, the base of it was, I've always seen that, the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament are not the same entity. I mean, you take a look at Yahweh.
So, like Marcionism.
I suppose you could call it that. But I've started to see it as, the words of Jesus, you find salvation through me isn't so much, either worship me and my God or I'll damn you. It's more akin to worship me and my God, otherwise we can't save you from that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I actually agree with that, and I've said that for a while, that I don't believe that that Christianity is spiritually the same as Yahwism.
I mean, it's almost like it was started as a movement to draw worship and power away from the God of the Old Testament, whatever you want to call him. Yahweh, some people think it's some sort of demon, Moloch, whatever. It's almost as if it was a movement to draw power away from that whole faith and whatever entity it represents, but it ended up becoming suborned and subverted by it in the end.
Well, it's almost like they're two completely different stories that have nothing to do with each other. Like, they're from two completely different societies. Everything about it is just like maybe, a lot of the Old Testament and the Old Testament God was stolen from the Egyptians and their lore. And
well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff on this. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, for sure. I do think that, the tradition of thinking that the Old Testament is not the God of the Old Testament is not the Christian God. There is a tradition of this in Gnosticism and in Marcionism. And I think that, had Marcion not been killed, that tradition carrying on might have been a healthier European religious tradition. So
you're saying the guy that had this other opinion.
He was killed for being a heretic, dude. Marcion.
Oh.
Here's a little side point that might help explain why the Old Testament Yahweh is so very much different from the Egyptian God and the Christian God. the Jews have a practice. They had one, and there's a Wikipedia page called Tikkunei Sefirim, which more or less is scribe editing. So when the rabbis they had to hand copy every letter of every word of the Torah. They would change the wording periodically to quote unquote preserve God's honor. So then, if we wanted to make Yahweh extra vengeful, then
well, I've known about that tradition. I mean, you can still see some remnants of the editing. Like if you talk to someone that knows the Phoenician, volcano demon really that Yahweh descended from, if you take a look at your older Phoenician lore, that Yahweh had a goddess that was his heavenly consort. Was named Asherah. And you can still find a couple of passages that survived editing, making references to offering up manna to the Queen of Heaven in certain parts of Old Testament scripture.
Yeah.
Well, part of why I wanted to say that is that would explain how the Egyptian god morphed into the vengeful, neurotic Jewish Yahweh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. I mean, in a way, the god Yahweh personifies certain aspects, and it is, in my opinion, the god of jealousy. Is essentially the most salient aspect of Yahweh as a deity.
That he's a jealous god. Yeah, he says it all over.
I mean, if you could really sum up Yahweh's motivations, I mean, I think a great phrase that would take a look at his motivations and the practices of the Jews of the Old Testament would be blood, for one. I mean, it was very much about wrath, vengeance, and you take a look and, like I said, blood's throughout all religions, but you see a lot of it in Judaism, and a lot of it in rumors about the Jews.
Well, they're not
Old
rumors.
Testament God was always mad. Oh, those people have never heard of me before? Okay, you guys go over there, you kill all the guys, you bring the women back, enslave them, you kill the firstborn kids, bring me their foreskins, take all their oxes, their asses, their fucking gold, bring it here. They've never heard of me. Fuck them.
Yeah,
that happened a lot in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I mean, you read the book of Joshua.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on in that book?
That's where they invented the CIA, 12 spies.
Yeah, it's just, and look, I'm not necessarily sympathetic for the tribes that they were massacring. I mean, in a way, it's sort of like this is how Bronze Age Semitic tribes related to each other, and the Israelites just won, or they won, then they survived until the present day, and we have a chronicle of it, and they probably wrote down histories more. I mean, we don't have much surviving literature from the other tribes, other than we have the Chemosh Stela, which is one of the few written accounts of another army defeating the Israelites in battle. But of course, they were also very corrupt in their own, like even from their own religion. So you have, King Solomon is erecting temples to Chemosh in Jerusalem. And this is like, the prophets were very angry about this. And this was regular, like the Israelites were always going off and worshiping, golden calves and Baal and this and that, and praying for money and gold and things like this. Is constantly happening, and they would be chastised by prophets.
Jewish things.
Yeah, basically, yeah, pretty much.
Just being Jews.
Has anyone read the Book of Esther and know about the holiday Purim?
Tell us the story.
So
Purim,
I know about Purim, yes, but you tell me probably better.
The Book of Esther. She's a very enterprising Jewess, and the Persian king let Haman, who's the de facto governor, whatever you want to call it, do whatever he was going to do. And because he saw the Jews for what they were, he was going to get rid of them. Not kill them all, but just get them out of their lands. So then Esther basically fucked the Persian king. And after he got his cummies, she convinced him to let them just sneak in the middle of the night, butcher up Haman, and then after that they went on an absolute massacre, killing Persians.
Well, so that's the same way they took down Jericho.
Yeah, it is. And then the holiday of Purim, they have a cookie or cake or whatever called Hamantashen, which basically means Haman's body.
Okay.
It's
another blood semen thing going on there.
Yep.
A metaphysical blood, I guess.
Yeah, but that's the same way that they, similarly, like snuck into Jericho, found a prostitute that was willing to betray her city, her people, and she, hung down the rope or something, and they all got in and took down the walls. Yeah. It's an old story. Yeah, again, they killed everybody, killed all the animals, etc.
Everybody,
and that's what you did back in those days. Like that's what Bronze Age tribal people did to their enemies.
They killed everybody.
Yeah, just killed.
I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't leave survivors around to whine and cry and demand gibs.
Well, sometimes you took the women.
Yeah, you took the women and enslaved some of the children.
Yeah, I believe that the Israelites did this. They took all the women of the Midianites and gave them to the.
They took the Shiksas.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, they weren't total Shiksas. I mean, these are people that were probably very genetically similar to them. Midianites were, constantly popping up around the Old Testament and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, they're all like this. All was going on like a very small little piece of land.
It's not that.
Spices
still there.
Shit.
Yeah, it's still there and it's still happening in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except now we're paying for it.
Yeah, except now we have to be involved for some reason.
Right.
They've always involved us. We've always been dragged into this shit.
My opinion of the Middle East is put a wall around the whole thing, put fucking cameras up, let them have nukes, charge people pay-per-view, solve all the world's problems right there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do the same thing with Detroit.
Yeah. I said I don't want to give anybody nukes.
Well,
no, just in that one little area. Just again, and they don't have any launching system. They can just throw them, like hands.
Oh, okay, all right.
Like footballs that were
catapult
had uranium in the middle. Anyway,
fuck it. Give them some of the Davy Crockett systems. I always wanted to see that thing get an actual field test.
Well, with Detroit, it's just happening. Right?
No matter what,
we're not going to need to put a wall around Detroit. It's just happening. Like, people are just leaving. Like, he's not going to go there. It's just not a thing.
Detroit is so bad.
Aren't they gonna move all the Somalis into the abandoned neighborhoods?
Yep, that's what they want to do.
Yep. Can it get much worse? I mean, I guess if you add Somalis, it can only get worse.
Well, I mean, it already looks like bombed out Syria, so I can't see how they can screw it up any further.
Oh, they can.
Well, they could bring in some of those poor 16-year-old refugees that were crying on the cover of the Guardian magazine. That guy was 56 years old.
Wait,
he was
really?
The guy, or they're bringing the kids into England and they have the blankets on their heads and they get.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that. That was that was really outrageous. I mean, if you looked at how this is happening, like these so-called children from Calais, like because they're like, well, we're gonna break up Calais, but the children can come to Britain, and so then everybody's suddenly a child. Oh, I'm a child. And so when they're bringing them in, they're walking through, and press had come. So whatever the bureaucracy, civil service in Britain that brings these people in had set up a tunnel. Like they had basically blocked off where they would be walking, and they all had towels over their heads so that you couldn't see their faces. And people were trying to take pictures, and it was supposed to be triumphant, oh look, Britain's saving more child refugees, but they had to hide the whole thing from everybody. And then there was a small group of these refugees welcome activists who are people that these people need to be put down. These are people who are just betraying everything about their country. But so there's a small group of them, but there was no photo op of this because all these people were of course grown men, and the BBC was freaking Orwellian about this, not showing any pictures, and they're child migrants arrive in Britain after trauma at Calais or something like this, and it's dude,
they had weird angled pictures where you could kind of see a thing with a towel, and people around it. You would think that if it was actual children, they'd have a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, no, they don't have any pictures of anybody younger than 25.
No, because there aren't any.
Did you see that documentary it was like a reality show in France, and they sent like cameras into the camps to make it seem like it's cool. It's like, oh, my new neighbors, my new pets in my backyard. And they had like this old lady go and like bring them all cookies. And they showed her like baking all these cookies and bringing them in. And all the refugees like surrounded her and like kissed her. And she started crying. She's like, they're like my children. They try to just like literally make it seem hip. Like, oh, this is what you got to live with now.
I was reading
They
a
go
story
outside
about...
and they feed the neighborhood cats.
I was reading a story about this British couple that was fostering these kids, and they were getting more and more outraged because they kept being told they were getting a child, and they kept getting like older and older so-called children. And like the first one, and they were like, God. You know, the first one was like, they were told he was 15, and they're like, he's going to be going to school. And these people must have been kind of out of it, or the report was like so edited that it was like not clear what was going on. But they're like, okay, he's going to be going to school, and he's like living with you or whatever. And then it's like, it turned out he wasn't going to school; he was working. And then like he just stopped coming back to their house after a little while. And they like
just
found
went back to the camp anyway.
Yeah. Or he just went and did whatever. He got into England, and that was all he needed. Like he was working under the table, and he was not attending any schools or anything. I suppose that's good. That's, at least they're not wasting money putting this kid through some school. But it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's ridiculous. I don't even understand how. I guess I do understand how it happens. Like, but
welcome your new baby boy, 19-year-old fucking man.
And imagine being a family that's like naive enough to want to do this, like because you want to help or whatever, and you've got your own kids, and they're like, well, here's your 18-year-old Somalian. Hope nothing happens with your 6-year-old daughter there.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I know it's fucking horrifying.
It's a nightmare.
I know it really is.
It's
anyway.
Well, there's places in Sweden where people are they are actually know that they're adopting older people.
Men.
Men.
And you just let them fuck your wife, basically. That's what it is. Here's a new sex toy, honey.
Men. Oh, Jesus. This is normal. This is what people have been doing for don't pretend, like you saying that this isn't normal is just, is your,
preconceived notions.
Yeah. It's just,
you have a preconceived notion about what, migrants are supposed to be and they're doing.
Yeah.
How dare you? Those
what
people,
even is a
it's your
child,
country's
really?
fault in the first place that they're displaced.
That's what they're doing. That's where they're blurring the lines.
If you define it by IQ thresholds, they're still children.
True.
Yeah. That's actually true there, Tassis.
They're going to make reality shows now. Well, they already did in France. They're going to make them here, and it's going to be like, my new Somalian life.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Have you seen that picture of
I thought you knew something.
Swedish 5th graders? And one of the kids was like 19.
Well, this is just like almost like where I went to high school. I mean, we were told a lot of these people at my high school were children, and they were in fact in their 20s.
Right.
Playing on the basketball team. It's like, wow, that basketball team's really good. They're beating us really badly. How's that happening?
Well, it's because they're all.
Well, when one of the team has 15-year-olds and the other has 25-year-olds, what the fuck are you gonna expect?
Yeah.
Who could be behind all that, though?
Going one to who? I'll be BRB real quick, guys. I'll be right back.
All right, well, we are actually coming up on the end of the first hour, so we're all going to take a break. How about that?
You're listening to the Paranormies on FM 1488.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? We are back. This is the Paranormies presents the Ahnenerbe Hour. I am still Johnny Monoxide, still here with Hazard McRee. We have Emily Yukas. I said it right this time.
Yes, you did.
All right. We have Gaius Tacitus. What's up?
Tacitus.
Tacitus. I've been saying it wrong. Why didn't you correct me last hour?
Didn't feel like it.
All right. Well, then it's not my fault anymore. And we have had to say goodbye, good night, so long, au revoir to the one, Mr. Mike Enoch. He came on, he said his thing, and now we're going to talk about stuff Mike doesn't want to talk about. And joining us, we have illustrious.
Kike Enoch did know a lot about Jews in the Old Testament.
Well, hang on a second. Introducing our new special guest.
Oh, God.
And joining us for the second hour, we have the illustrious Atlantic Centurion, Mr. Lawrence Murray. What's happening, man?
Sir, hello.
Hello, hi.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi, sir, hello.
All right, everybody kike out quick. Let's get it out of the way.
Oy vey!
Oh, my God.
Well,
They gassed my booba 6 times.
The blood libel.
Oh, the blood libels.
Oh, all right. So we're here in the second hour. We're going to get a little more into the Paranormies type stuff. There are people that counter-signal the fact that the Podesta emails actually dropped information on satanic pedophilia rings. Anybody want to talk about that for a minute?
Well, I think the consensus at this point is that the satanic performance art is definitely a thing, but there's less concrete evidence for the pedophilia claims. That's something that people are trying to intuit here, but
suffice to say, they're up to no good when they have lollipop in quotations with a winky face right afterwards. It's not anything good.
Yep.
It's either
regardless
drugs or
of
girls.
what they're talking about, it's not good.
Do you think I'd have better luck playing dominoes on cheese or pasta?
Domino's is
Why
a
would
pizza
you
chain.
say that?
I mean, wouldn't you be able to play dominoes on both of them pretty easily? I think you got like a 4-year age difference.
Oosh.
Yeah, but if we're talking about actually dominoes and actually pasta, why would people talk like that? That's just what?
We didn't get the new pasta. We had to make do with the pasta that John gave us at Christmas.
Yes.
John's Christmas pasta.
Jesus Christ. That
Johnny's
pasta.
pasties.
Johnny's pasties.
Oh man,
Right.
that leftover pasta from last week is still in the fridge. Any of you boys want to have a go?
That's got to be the name of this episode now, Johnny's Pasties.
Done and done. All
Johnny's
right.
maps.
Fucking that. Yeah, that was the bad one. Hey, we found a handkerchief. It seems it might have some pizza-related map on it.
What
Like a map
the
to find
fuck
the
is a
hidden pizza?
pizza-related map?
Now, why would they want to return the handkerchief? Is it to conceal the DNA evidence or for a souvenir?
I think mainly they were telling him, hey, we have proof, so you're in it with us forever now.
Uh-oh.
Then there's the insurance email.
You mean the 10,000 emails in the insurance folder?
Oh, right. Oh, my God. So,
whatever it is in those emails that's being talked about in code, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting, and it goes back to a guy, John Podesta. Look at him. He's clearly Greek and Italian. Have you
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but did you see the picture I posted in the 50 forum group? Where it's a younger Podesta, and he definitely doesn't look Greek and Italian. He looks like another sort of nosy group-ish type person. If he's not a fucking Jew, I swear to God, there's no way he's...
Well, see, the Jews mesh with the Masons once you get up to a certain degree. Both the Jews and the Masons love their child abuse. Once you get to a certain degree, I think 32 and up, it's you must.
It's 30
wreck
and up.
the anus. Yeah, wreck the anus of a small goy child. I don't.
Musonius, who comes on, is a high-level Mason. We're not going to get into that. He's not a kid diddler.
So are you saying that anti-Mason
is also not a
is
32nd level Mason? He's like
are you saying that anti-Mason is a code word for anti-anime?
I don't even know at this point.
At this,
that would be the next topic to get to the bottom of.
At this point, all the stuff Alex Jones has been talking about for the past 15 years, and I've been following him for at least 13, is that there's some sort of satanic pedophile group that runs the government.
It's so obvious. People get so far going down the rabbit hole. They get so very far, and then they just stop when it comes to the ritual child abuse. And I never understood why they don't. The child porn industry. That's a fact. Multi-billion-dollar global industry. It's a global industry. Yeah, it's a global industry. It's very diverse. You get all the kinds of children, so that's a fact. And it's like, who would be running that? Who could be behind that?
I mean, I wonder who could be behind this.
I mean, I don't know. Like,
behind everything?
I always knew from the beginning, and I've been talking about this for years, that satanic ritual child abuse makes the world go round. We have a dark force that lies at the center of the globe. If you guys are globists here, I don't want to offend the flat earthers.
Oh, there's no fucking flat earthers on this fucking... That's the one thing that Hazard and I agree on.
You mean...
Sorry, we're all sphere cucks.
Hold on.
So you're not earth realists?
Well, no, trees don't reel, but the planet is not. Right? So.
Okay, yeah, no, I went down that path. I spent like 2 days listening to nonstop 4-hour-long fucking flat earth documentaries. Basically, the entire thing in each of those documentaries is, just look at the world, guys. It's flat. Just look at it.
Was it Sinead?
Yeah, did you talk to Sinead?
No, but oh no, God, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot
Have you seen
pole.
her crystal tree video?
No, I'm not going near that. I saw the video where she screamed at the droopy-eyed boy, and I'm like, nope. Because she did ask me to do an interview with her. Oh, really? And, and I'm like, I'm not touching that, man.
I wouldn't talk to her ever.
I did not.
The crystal tree video, she says that all modern trees are just little bushes, and that mazes are stumps of giant silicone trees that the Jews harvested for energy.
What?
Yeah, no, she's gone completely... Like, I thought I was a conspiracy theorist at one point. Nope.
Yeah, I was just about to say, this is getting extremely meta. You've got a conspiracy show talking about people who are into conspiracy shows.
Right.
Well, flat Earth isn't a conspiracy.
It's crazy when Johnny Monoxide don't believe it.
Like, I'm going to say even Johnny Monoxide's denial of the moon landings, as rustled as that gets me, fucking, or his, my mind's up in the air about it, at least he'll, definitely say we have sent shit to the moon, stuff like that.
Not people, but stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, this whole
Hazard's like biting his tongue as he says that.
Well, look, we sent normies to the moon, and normies aren't people, so... By transitive property, we didn't send people to the moon.
Normies are NPCs, non-playable characters.
Exactly.
Okay.
I agree with this.
So,
ask yourself, how many lines of dialogue does the average normie have? Weather,
how's the weather? Yeah, weather, sports.
How was your weekend? It's very... Something's going on there.
Right? Something's going
on.
Johnny,
you were talking to all my normie... fans on Facebook.
I was.
Earlier.
I didn't mean to. But so somebody decided today to say something about Donald Trump being a rapist of a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, of course.
Because, all these lefties are involved. Bill Clinton's been to Lolita Island 20 times, and Hillary Clinton's been to Lolita Island 6 times. And this is a known pedophile's little private island, Jeffrey Epstein. And but Trump, he raped a girl 30 years ago who was 13 or whatever.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a name.
Right. Some anonymous Jane Doe. Well, yesterday, everything got dropped. Oh, surprisingly enough.
Well, how about that? They're still using it. Yeah. Now, see, I used to go on Facebook and post a fuckload of shit and try and pill these guys. And I did end up converting a good number of them, let me tell you. But I stopped eventually because it's just the same little snarky fucking assholes doing the same shit. It's like bashing your head against a chair. So I just stopped. But I finally did one about this, and oh boy, did I attract a lot of shit. And I noticed some of the TRS guys were actually trying to argue with them for me. And I was like, oh, guys, do you know what you're getting into? Do you know how stupid these people are?
No, that's why I don't talk to those people to talk to them. I'm talking to the people that are reading the post.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why.
I don't even respond to them anymore.
Well, shall we get back to the topic at hand?
Yeah, let's get back to the topic at hand. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we might be able to wring out another 20, 30 minutes of shit posting. But I mean, if you guys want to get to the topic at hand, that's cool.
Well, all I'm saying is that Donald Trump never raped a little girl because there's no evidence it ever happened. The thing got dropped. It went away. Enough of that. All right. So, where were we? Jews, pedophiles, our government.
Ritual murder.
Ritual murder, yes. Yes. Jews and ritual murders.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead there.
So, it is a tenet of some of the more esoteric branches of Kabbalah, which is itself a doctrine. It's not a single book, that Jews need to ritualistically murder goyim, generally goyish children, but usually someone who believes in Christ. And since Christ is actually a prophet of the Mohammedans, they do permit ritualistically murdering Muslims too. What they do is they poke hundreds and hundreds of tiny little holes in the person while they are bound and gagged to drain all the blood from their body, and constantly taught them mock Christ. And when they finally kill them, they do the kosher slaughter cut, which is ear to ear across the neck, and they drain all the rest of the blood in a bucket. And they use this blood, once it's dried, to incorporate into their matzo recipe for Passover matzo. And these are generally Hasidic Jews, because Hasidism is the sect that internalizes Kabbalah. There's a lot of infighting amongst Jews. It's good to know which side believes which branch of bullshit. It's usually the Hasidics that do that sort of thing. But even before Hasidism came around, they had been doing this for thousands of years. And one of the most famous cases was young William of Norwich in England, and he was just a little boy. This was 1141, and his corpse was found behind a rabbi's house, horribly mutilated. And one or two of the kikes confessed, and they described to the English court officials exactly what they had done to the poor boy. And the king at the time, I don't remember his name, was so furious that he kicked every single Jew off of England. And England was free of Jews, the entire island, until Cromwell brought them back in the 17th century. So they were kosher free for 500 years, which is also coincidentally when they became an empire.
I wonder if those two things are related.
There have been hundreds and hundreds of other cases, and they are very well documented. There have been, if I remember correctly, half a dozen papal bulls, which are official statements from the Vatican over the centuries, canonizing, the poor Christian child who was horribly tortured, and condemning the Jews for it. And this was just a well-known fact that this is what they did. And when the pushback against this happened, This was in, I believe it was the 1910s. I don't remember exactly which year. It was the murder of little Mary Fagan. It was a little Georgian girl, a shiksa, and it was by a filthy kike by the name of Leo Frank. And he brutally raped her and murdered her. I don't think it was a ritualistic murder, but suffice it to say, it was with the intent to defile. And a lot of, especially Christians at the time, were still cognizant of Jewish ritual murder, and they wanted him killed, rightly so. And he got his kike connections to bring him some high-profile lawyers to get him a plea bargain for just a life sentence. And in Georgia, if you're a Jew and you rape and murder a little white girl, then in general you just be hung. So this was a big deal back then.
Wasn't this the one where originally he blamed it on a couple of black employees he had?
He blamed it on a Negro janitor. And you're talking about 1910s Georgia, where they are itching to lynch niggers. And the fact that they didn't go along with that bullshit tells you that this Jew really did it, and they really just wanted to get this Jew. So what happened is a lynch mob formed, and they broke him out of jail, and they killed the son of a bitch. And after that, to prevent future incidents of anti-Semitism and spreading the awful lies of the blood libel, the Society of the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith was formed in response to the horrible murder of innocent Leo Frank.
What was interesting about that case, I remember reading about that some time ago, is that, this is true. This is the pre-integration South. This is the Jim Crow South. And they were willing to name the Jew, so to speak, and not go after the black suspect, which is what you'd think they would have done. Like, ordinarily that's the case, but you had this, Jewish factory owner or manager, I forget exactly if he owned it or managed it, who was also not from the South, obviously, because no Jews are really from the South.
Keep in mind, the Jews were the carpetbaggers. So they were not trusted at all. The
sociological explanation that's often given is like, oh, well, he was a bourgeois capitalist, right? So this was the working class white population revolting against this Jewish capitalist because they were anti-Semitic. And it's like, nah, he's a rapist. They lynched rapists. That's what they did. Like, there's all this apologism that goes on for Leo Frank when it's like, nah, these people had a tradition of lynching rapists. That's what they do. Sorry. Like, the Jewish literature on this tries to make all kinds of excuses about how the population was like bigoted and whatever, and it's like, nah, they just lynch rapists. That's what they do.
Well, I think the scariest thing about the blood libel is that something that many people may not realize is that this sort of thing goes on to today.
Yeah.
There was a case that it's been pretty much completely suppressed by the media, but there was a comic book artist named Blake Leibel who lived in Hollywood. And all of a sudden he began being abusive towards his girlfriend who was pregnant with his child at the time. So she gave birth to his child, and less than a week later came by his apartment to pick up some of her things. And he attacked her, bound her, and over the course of something like 6 to 8 hours, completely exsanguinated her before he killed her.
And for those people who don't know what exsanguinated is,
drained her of all the blood in her body.
There you go.
Now, I want to get into the reasons why they do it.
Very exsanguination.
Yeah, why do they do
Some
it?
nice Latin right there.
Are you ready?
Well, I mean, right off the beginning,
Go ahead.
every culture places a high emphasis on blood as the substance and sustenance of life. I mean, you've got that right off the bat.
So let me chime in here with my knowledge of kikery. In the Talmud, and the Talmud is its own doctrine, separate from Kabbalah. They teach as a tradition that the blood of the circumcision and the blood of the Passover is pleasing to Yahweh, where the blood of the Passover is that of sacrifice. And when Jews historically have been accused of Jewish ritual murder, particularly where they consume it in their Passover matzos. They'll say, "But goy, the Talmud says we can't consume blood. It's not kosher." Human blood, they mean, and they're right. And this is where you need to bring in the fact that in the Talmud it also says that the goyim are not fully human, but a human-like beast. So it is perfectly allowable.
Isn't that what we say though about the Nogs and anyone else?
Yeah, but we don't kill them and drink their blood.
They're not human?
We should kill them and drink their blood.
No,
we should.
Maybe we can learn something from these Jews.
There's no reason.
No, I don't. It's gonna get AIDS.
I don't want AIDS. Yeah, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't want AIDS.
But here's the main reason why they do it, particularly to Christians, the Kabbalistic reason, and it's a tradition that it's taught, and this has been written about by people who were part of groups that did this and left, converted to Christianity, and confessed all of this. It's a way of hedging their bets in case Jesus wasn't the real Messiah. It was the real Messiah, and we killed him by mistake.
That's right. Yes.
It's a way of hedging our bets because by incorporating the blood of a believer in Christ, it makes it our blood. So either way, we're saved.
Yes. They drink the blood of a Christian just to make sure, just in case Jesus really was the fucking Messiah, that they're going to go to heaven. That makes sense.
It's a way of hedging their bets.
Jewish neuroticism and
that's sickening.
Yeah,
wow.
Isn't it though?
So even devoting your entire life to being a Jew and to demoting Jesus and celebrating his death, and yet you still have to, just in case.
Just
you never know.
We're wrong.
You never know what's around the corner.
Right?
Just, oh my God, those Jews, let me tell you.
Right? No. The poor Jews. John, stop. Don't talk like that.
I am going to counter-signal you guys a little bit on this. This stuff is historically documented, like stuff like Saint Simon of Trent and people like that. But I wouldn't say that this is like a typical thing. Like we're dealing with
it's a very fringe sect.
A cult subsection of the Jewish population.
I made sure to emphasize that from the get-go, that not all Jews are alike, and these are the ones that internalize the tenets of Kabbalah.
Yeah, this is something that you actually do have to knack salt a bit on for pure credibility purposes, because it exists, but it's also very small. Mm-hmm. So
it's the Mormons
at the same time. It's Jews. They're actually Jews. The ones that are doing it are Jews. It's actually fucking Jews. It isn't one.
But
of those
here's where it
theories.
really kicks into overdrive, is whenever accusations of this are made, and there's legitimate evidence. Even just standard atheistic Jews will always rush to the defense of the Jew in question, even if he's guilty of sin.
It's tribalism.
So as far as I'm concerned, they're all culpable.
Historically, though, there was a time when they would not have done that the more sort of, for lack of a better term, like progressive Jews were actually like humiliated and mortified by what the ultra-Orthodox or the Kabbalistic Jews did. But
I didn't know progressive...
At this point, it's very united, especially post-war.
No, you're right. It was the ones who were more mercantile because they cared a lot about their business interests.
Right, to the point of almost being purely materialist.
Not purely, completely.
There's a reason why they're the highest rate of like atheism in the world is Jewish people.
Well, I mean, if you take a look back at your older translations of the Old Testament and some of their own texts, I mean, it does tend to be a religious worldview that says that the material is all that there is, if I'm remembering correctly.
So does the opposite work? Like, if we get a Jewish child and suck all the blood out, will we become honorary Jews?
I don't think it would work like that to them.
I don't know that it does.
Because in the Talmud it says that if a goy kills a Jew, then he shall surely be put to death.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, they're special. We're not. We're just cattle.
No, of course.
I get the feeling if you tried to do like Jewish black ritual magic, it would be the equivalent of mixing bad chemicals, and you're just gonna bad things.
Right. It's
I'm
like just gonna choke yourself out in the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm not having anything to do with that fucking thing. No. Fuck that.
Now, so with the Jewish ritual murder, And that is actually a thing in the Talmud, correct?
It's not in the Talmud. It is a tradition of the Kabbalah.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. So the Kabbalah.
Well, let me go into my little tism rant on the Jewish texts and traditions, because most people, especially normies, don't know jack shit about it. The core text is the Talmud or the Torah, and the main 5 books of the Bible are called the Pentateuch. And to the average normie, this is all that Jews have, just the Old Testament. When in fact, they have an entirely separate doctrine built on top of that called Talmud. And the Talmud is newer than Christ. The Mishnaic text, which is the core of it, was written about 400 AD. The Gemara, which stands for completion, was written about 200 years later. And then it's nothing but commentary, autistic legalese nitpicking from rabbis over 1,000 years, all over the margins. And
isn't it basically a lot of it is how to get around the prescription?
Yeah, it's Jews. It's Jews trying to Jew out of their own Jewy rules. That's it.
Oh man.
Which is why they have all this ridiculous shit that they do, just for the sole purpose of avoiding the rules that the King Kikes set forward.
The kosher switch, the Shabbos Goy tradition.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is Talmud. It is considered to be the soul of the law. If the Torah is the law, then the Talmud to them is the soul of the law. Now, to the more wacko Jews, the Kabbalistic ones, the Kabbalah is the soul of the law. The first text of the Kabbalah is called the Sefer Yetzirot, and their tradition is that it was actually written by Abraham. That chances are is bullshit, and it's a little over 2,000 years old, and itself is very much derivative from the Egyptian mystery cults, the cult of Isis, and all it is numerology. In Hebrew, every letter, and there are 22 letters, has its own numerical equivalent, and it's just insane nitpicking numerology, and this is called gematria.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this some on our numerology episode.
Yeah.
There's a few other things. The body parts of God being an esoteric interpretation for the emanations of Yod-He, Vod-He, a.k.a. Yahweh, into the universe. But that's about it. Now, the main text of the Kabbalah is called the Sefer HaZohar, and it's also called the Zohar. And it's not one book, but it is a compendium of 23 books, which I had sent Johnny a link to on eBay, and we're both going to purchase a set. I've only read one book of them, and I only recently found out that there's 22 other ones.
Is that where we get 23andMe from?
No. But their tradition is that a guy by the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, which they call Rashbi, and he's a frequent commenter in the Talmud, that he and his disciple, Rav Avi or something like that, during the Judean Wars, or shortly after, rather, when...
now, which Judean Wars are we talking about?
Of Titus and Vespasian.
Okay.
Yeah, so shortly after those...
The one who didn't finish the job.
They got really close.
Closer than just about anybody's come.
Hey, give them at least a B for effort. But the tradition is they buried themselves in sand for 12 years, and that's when they wrote the Zohar. Modern Kike scholars say that it was written by a guy by the name of Moses de Leon in 12th, 13th century Spain, just a Jewy rabbi, and it is all of these insane rituals. I can't speak too definitely about it because I myself have yet to read it. From just the browsing I've done, I mean, fuck, if a rooster crows at midnight, the ritual that the rabbi must do in case that happens. And then it gives you this entire esoteric doctrine of the universe where they teach that God himself is half good and half evil, and that good and evil must exist in the universe in equal proportions, which is why you have the Tree of Life. If you've seen the Tree of Life, the 10 Sephirot, I don't know how to describe it. It just kind of looks like a graph, a symmetric graph with 3 columns, with the middle one being the tallest. And then there's the opposite one, the evil one, not the tree of death, but it has the Qliphote, and that's where you get into Jewish demonology. And at the very head, you have basically the devil, and the devil has two heads, one of them being Satan and the other is Molech. What else is there?
Now, if God is half good and half evil in this sort of theological view, is Satan another manifestation of God,
yes.
or is Satan?
Yes, Satan is merely just half of God,
and Moloch is half of Satan.
Well, they don't use the term Satan. No. They use the term, I'm looking up in my book now, Thaumiel, being the evil crown, and it's two-headed with the archdemons of Satan and Molech. So the tradition would be that is the negative half of God, almost in a yin-yang sense. That's the negative half of the positive half being. They use the term in Kabbalah Ein Sof.
You sure know a lot about Jewry there, Goy.
It's my specialty.
If you really are a Goy.
Know thy enemy.
Look! If you're going to be talking this much, if you're going to be talking this much in depth about the various applications of Jewish religious texts, we're going to at least need a no shlomo from you.
No shlomo.
That's a good one. I never heard that one before.
I'll be meeting up with DeMarcus on Tuesday, and Theru's met up with me. They can confirm I'm kosher free.
Yeah, just eat some bacon in front of them.
No,
I passed the nose test.
Good. He's good.
No, I know. I was just fucking.
I know.
Do you think I'm going to bring on some sort of a kike?
Well, yeah, duh, I know.
Let me get back to what I was going to say, because this is where it gets really funny. The Sephirot they could be thought of as planes of consciousness. To the Jew, they exist in both God and in man, and that man has 10 ways that he can emanate consciousness. And by doing all this insane numerology crap and all these insane rituals, I don't know how else to phrase it in a condensed manner, but they kind of earn cosmic good boy points to elevate their consciousness and traverse the 32 paths of wisdom until they become a god in their own right. And that is the core of Kabbalah, is rabbis doing insane autistic numerology and nitpicking and weird rituals so that they can consider themselves gods.
They love their numbers.
Numbers are huge.
Do you ever see I was watching a thing on Bobby Fischer, who, as you know, is one of the only good Jews because he called them out nonstop. And I was seeing how his name like added up in the numerology to be like 33 or something, or it was I don't know. It was a number that, oh fuck, I don't know. I should get the video out.
It was a significant number to them.
Yeah, so like he was planned from birth to be sacrificed. Like I saw all this numerology on Bobby Fischer.
Gematria?
Just about how like they planned this for years, these sacrifices. So he may have been like predestined to become the greatest chess player ever, call out the Jews, and then die, which doesn't make sense because if they didn't want to be called out, why would they plan for him to go on Jew-hating rampages in the first place?
Well, I think part of it is, the core tenet of this Kabbalistic thing is there's always the elements of duality, if I'm not being mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, that's a very big part of it.
So if they have good times, they must also have suffering in order to maintain balance.
Yes. Here's another thing I just thought of. And my first source for this is Manly Palmer Hall, and my second source, if you guys know who Dr. Carl Radel is, he has a blog called Semitic Controversies, which I highly recommend. Go read it. So it's a Kabbalistic tradition that there are 600,000 letters in the Torah, and even though there's really like 350,000 and change, they say, but you got to include the white space. The is a character too.
What?
But suffice it to say, there's 600,000 unique Jewish souls, and even though there's more than 600,000 nowadays, they get kind of chopped up and divided. Although a particularly good Jew can have his soul all to himself, while a bad Jew who married a shiksa, their kid will only have a fraction of a Jewish soul. The other significance behind 600,000 is that's the number of Jews that left in Exodus from Egypt. But this is the real kicker. And again, this is in Semitic controversy itself. There's a notion of rabbinical exaggeration called gutzma, where you say something that is so obviously outlandishly false that it's obvious that you're just bullshitting to make a broader point. And well before the infamous Shoah, they would have their own scaling of Shoah events as a multiple out of 10 of 600,000. So a 5 out of 10 Shoah would be 3 million, which means that 5 times of all Jews, or Jews, the whole Jewish population 5 times over was killed. So then 6 million is the worst Shoah of all, and that's the all Jews dying 10 times over. And
don't you wish you could just kill them all 10 times?
So you're saying, so what you're saying is, and
again, my source of this is Carl Rattle. So if you want to call bullshit, call it on him.
No,
but
not calling bullshit, but
he does his fact checking. He checks his sources.
Is 10 times the actual Shoah number.
No. You see, there's only 600,000 actual Jews.
Only
That's
600,000.
And
so
not only that,
10
but it's
times the amount of Jewish souls. Gotcha.
But it's also meant to be an exaggeration in that we're saying, oh, it was a 10 out of 10 Shoah. It was just so awful. And Jews who weren't rabbis or who didn't get that it was an exaggeration took it literally. And his thesis is that is the birth of the 6 million meme.
Huh.
Because there are newspapers before the 1940s that reference 6 million Jews this, 6 million Jews that.
Oh, yeah. Many times
I've seen
before.
some of them.
So that is the origin.
All the way back into the 1800s.
Yep, that is the not Kabbalistic but rabbinic origin of it.
Yeah, it's totally rabbinic origin of the 6 million meme. That went back into like the beginning of Zionism.
Yeah.
Which was the 1880s, 1870s, somewhere on there. I can't remember off the top of my head.
So I've seen something thrown around in the same circles as a Kabbalah. It's, what is it, Qliphoth?
Qliphoth.
The
Qliphoth. What exactly is that?
So I'll get into that. The Tree of Life has 10 Sephirot, and these are supposed to be 10 planes of consciousness where in the macrocosm it is how God emanates, and in the microcosm, consciousness in a man. That is the positive aspect of it. The negative aspect is the Qliphoth. So it is negative emanations of consciousness. That is evil will. Ways that evil will can manifest either in the universe or within ourselves. And at the very top of that is good old Molech.
Good old Molech.
What a surprise.
And just a reminder, I said this on the Intersectional Alt-Right Free-For-All last night. Goalies listening, go look up Sanhedrin 64a. That is one of the books of the Talmud. In Folio 64a, the Mishnaic text, it gives the provisions for sacrificing your own seed to Molech. And the conditions are you either burn it alive or you kill it, but you can't kill your kid and then burn it.
So it's got to be alive burning.
Or you slit its throat, kosher style.
You slit its throat,
But Moloch demands only the finest of sacrifices to them.
Right.
So Planned Parenthood, is that a fine enough sacrifice? Because have you seen the conspiracies where they like have the P or the little symbol is like the eye of Moloch? And that would make perfect sense. It's total baby sacrificing factory.
Oh my God, guys, you know what this means? Jews did the binding of Isaac. It all makes sense.
Hold on, what?
I get the joke.
Glad somebody got that.
Jews
I was
did the what?
Planned Parenthood. You know that they have an owl, I think, is their symbol, right?
Yes, exactly.
So the owl
No,
is
wait a
not
minute.
Moloch.
I demand Larry explain the joke.
It's a game.
The original Jewish child sacrifice is Isaac, son of Abraham.
Oh, Isaac. Okay, right.
Yeah, the binding of Isaac, where he goes up on the mountain to kill his son, and then God's like, nah, no.
Just kidding.
Yeah, literally. Like, I was going to make you kill your son to prove a point.
JK, LOL.
Just kidding.
Just a performance art piece, bro.
Yeah, just performance art, bro.
No, there's
Getting back to the
Family Guy clip where like they're walking back down the hill and Isaac looks at us. What the fuck was that all about, Dad?
BRB. 2 seconds.
I'll hold off
right.
my owl
Shitposting
explanation.
has gotten real on the second hour.
Well, it has to come in somewhere. We managed to not do it while Mike was on.
No, we're into all kinds of occultic weird stuff. So nobody here really believes that Podesta is into, occult, satanistic pedophilia.
Well, here's the thing.
I believe the occult thing could be true because you don't pal around with the
so the occult
freaky
thing.
Abramovich woman. I don't know about the pedophilia thing. The evidence for that is just kind of a lot of guessing and guesstimating and implying. It's not as concrete as like wanting to
agree
go
with
there
it.
with this woman that likes to drink semen and blood and piss.
Right. But the thing is, though, is like there's always been, since like Gerald Ford, I want to say, this, recurring story about pedophilia at the top of our government. The Washington Post, or was it the another Washington paper had a front page thing about when was it? It was one of the Bush. I don't remember if it was senior or junior. Might have been junior, but young male prostitutes being shuttled in and out of the White House.
Johnny Ghosh? Are you talking about Johnny Ghosh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Ghosh. That was it was during W's presidency.
It was W.
And he went
okay,
missing
yeah.
during HW's.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's been, this recurring theme of pedophilia in and out of the White House. I mean, why would it change? Like, I mean, pedophilia has been a thing in Hollywood. I mean, Corey, which was the Corey that killed himself? Haim. Corey Feldman's still around doing that weird Michael Jackson shit. But Corey Haim wrote, he killed himself because of drug use, and what he said was due to the fact that he was raped on a regular basis as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood has been, it's been known, and it's well known that child stars are sexual things. They use them as toys. So
really
why
quick.
wouldn't politicians?
Now
Here's the other thing about. Now that Emily's back, let's let Tacitus go into his thing.
Yep, I was just going to briefly explain the significance of the owl symbology. That owl represents Lilith, she is the demon at the 9th lowest Qliphote, and she's the demon wife of Samael. And another important point to add is when Kabbalistic Jews do their evil rituals, they don't, instead of actually growing their evil consciousness, what they do is they're trying to make contact with the evil demons and get them to do their bidding for them, or some such shit like that.
So, or is it something along the lines of, I will let myself be a manifestation of this evil, an implement of its will, so that my soul remains stainless?
No, their soul gets corrupted. It's black magic. They have the demon do what they want to do on their behalf, but then they basically, at least they believe that they'll owe the demon their soul afterwards.
Huh.
Okay, so these people believe that they owe these demons, like, debts of things. So why wouldn't they just give them children?
They're the purest vessel of energy. I mean, if you look at the, I forget what actual tests they do, but the energy field of a fresh baby is a buzzing, fresh, woo fucking thing, and the energy slowly gets dispersed as the child ages till they're adults and they have nothing left. They're soulless.
Well, Johnny, you've read Crowley. Do you want to?
Yes, I have.
Do you want to go into why it has to be kids and boys specifically?
Ooh,
Go ahead.
you like Crowley. I used to be obsessed with him for a little bit, but then I realized he's a fucking degenerate, and fuck him.
He's a total degenerate.
He has to go back.
Where? He's like a white Jew. I mean, like he's an Anglo.
Was he Jewish, though? Yeah, he was an Anglo, but I didn't think he was Jewish.
He's an eternal Anglo.
I don't know. Like, John Podesta says he's Italian and Greek, but look at him.
I think he is a goy.
Look at the picture I sent in the chat. That is not a goalie.
Wait, I'm not seeing any. I'm just seeing the general here. I still see the Podesta spirit cooking picture. I don't see the.
No, it's down at the bottom.
I'm scrolling.
In the Paranormies chat.
I don't know that Podesta isn't. I posted a picture earlier of him when he was younger, and he looks like your stereotypical curly-haired, huge-nosed, attached earlobe Washington Jew.
But it's entirely possible that he's descended from converts, but without more background information, it'd be impossible to tell.
Yeah.
But it's like looking at him and like looking at like Abramovich and saying she's not.
Oh, well, no. Well, she's so much more Jewy than him. I mean, if you look at the young
something, Tacitus.
Look at the picture of him where he's got his hands up and he's got the 14 and the fish on his hands. Look at his face.
Tacitus, what can you tell us about Kabbalah and, this tree of the Qliphoth, and where does cannibalism play into it, besides just, the baking of the blood of the Goyim, just to be sure?
That's beyond my area of expertise. That is a little bit too much for me. I know that as they go through the Qliphotic tree, that that has its own set of rituals. I don't know what they are. The best place to look for that would be Eliphas Levi, Transcendental Magic, or Black Magic books, grimoires, or whenever I get my Zohar collection, I'll be sure to report that.
So, I mean, what we're seeing here, just from what limited knowledge you have of just having read one of these books, seems to be just a lot of truly reprehensible stuff.
Yeah, it's evil. It's downright evil.
Can we go back to Crowley for 2 seconds? Because I've been fascinated with him. So he did say that the boy's anus is like the perfect portal to the netherworld, right? A young, fresh boy's anus.
He did, yeah.
They
call it the Golden Arch.
Now, why a boy, not a girl?
Because he was a faggot.
He had a lot of women relationships. He had a wife, and not a wife, but he had a woman that he brought to Egypt when the god supposedly channeled through her, and that's how he wrote that one book. What was that book?
Book of Thoth?
Yeah, something like that.
Can we just leave it that his remains should be exhumed and thrown into a bog?
And he had that the house, the abbey up in England, and he had I think he had like 3 wives that he bred with, and they just have ritual orgies all day. The kids were allowed to walk in and participate. I think one of the kids died up there. I know he had a child with this first woman that he just abandoned, and both of them died. The child died, and then the mother died of sadness, and then he went up and bred some more, just spreading his good seed.
Don't forget that Aleister Crowley is also supposed to be Barbara Bush's dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Who?
And they do look extremely similar. Pull up the pictures.
Which Bush?
Barbara Bush.
She's really?
Her mother, Pauline
Look up
Pierce,
the pictures.
was in Paris in the 1920s and partied with Crowley. And, 8.5 months later, Barbara was born. And she does bear as much of a resemblance to Aleister Crowley as Chelsea Clinton does to, what's that guy's
Webster
name?
Hubble.
For Bill Clinton.
Webster Hubble.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, look at the pictures.
I thought I was pretty well versed in conspiracies, but this is one that I did not know about.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah.
No,
dude, you're on with Johnny Monoxide now. Like,
that Bill Clinton is likely the bastard offspring of Winthrop Rockefeller, right?
Really?
One more time.
Look that up. Look into the Bill Clinton Winthrop Rockefeller connection.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
Huh.
He is a Rockefeller.
This is actually somewhat plausible.
Mm-hmm.
So what percentage? And I mean,
which would make Barbara Bush a witch?
Yeah,
exactly. Which and look what his descendants are. Those 2 Bush sluts. I mean, it's a shame because I really admire Crowley's poetry. I think there's a lot of stuff that's cool about him, but he descended into these 2 thoughts. The book of Thoth, the book of thoughts these two ugly Bush daughters. I think it's a shame that's where his genetics went. But can I read one Crowley poem? Just one little short excerpt.
This better not be about little boys.
It's about necrophilia.
Oh,
that's not much better.
Which is one of the next
ahead,
steps on the nose where we're going. My nostrils sniff the luxury of flesh decaying, bowels torn, of festive worms like Venus born, of entrails foaming like the sea. Yea, thou art dead, thy buttocks now are swan soft, and thou sweatest not, and hast a strange desire begot in me to lick thy bloody brow, to gnaw thy hollow cheeks and pull thy lustful tongue from out its sheath, to wallow in the bowels of death and rip thy belly and fill full. My hands with all putridities, to chew thy dainty testicles, to revel with the worms in hell's delight in such obscenities.
Aleister Crowley was a really fucked up dude.
Oh yeah, well it's this death cult, and that's exactly what the Abramovich is doing.
It's sex.
His remains have to be removed and put in a bog. It's the only way.
Yep, he goes in a bog. I mean, it's interesting, this whole Kabbalistic conception of the consumption of flesh. There's been some stories going around about how in his office, John Podesta has a painting of two men standing above a third who is tied down, and the two men that are standing above him have knives and forks in their hands.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
The guy on the table is wearing a suit, and the people above him have no face.
I think I actually have it on my in one of my
it's a very disturbing painting, and Podesta actually said, you know, if you're going to be in that picture, it's better to be the guy with the knife and fork.
It's I think it's something very indicative of these sorts of people. Maybe there's some Kabbalistic root to this, because I mean, all of them seem to be involved in this sort of thing. Maybe you can confirm, Tacitus, but it seems that any evil action they take, they feel compelled to sort of flaunt it somehow, if you get where I'm going with this. I've noticed that too. As far as the reason why, if there is a reason why, I don't know. I think it's part of the pathology in that, I mean, ultimately all of this is vice, right? It's not disputed that basically raping, murdering kids, draining goy blood for matzos, that's all vice. It's some of the worst vice imaginable. And pride is also generally considered a major vice. It would make sense that pride would be there would be some consanguination there, and that they feel prideful of it. I mean, do you think that this is some sort of subconscious, or do you think that maybe they think that?
I think it's subconscious. That's my claim. I don't know of any doctrine or tenet
that would say that, you know, obliging one's pride about these things enhances their efficacy.
Yes. Correct. That's not to say there isn't one, but I don't know of one.
Well, I mean, we're at one book of 23?
Well, I've also read a lot of other occult crap. I have Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma ahead of me. I've got other stuff around me.
I mean, it's really just all fascinating stuff when you get down to it.
You have to be very clinical when you go through it.
It's really disturbing too at the same time.
You have to be clinical. You have to detach yourself, kind of like how a mortician does with a dead body, so that you don't get corrupted.
Otherwise, you're going to get too wrapped up in it. And
this is the sort of thing that, I mean, whether you believe in metaphysics or not, you have to acknowledge that this is the sort of thing where looking too closely at it and leaving yourself attached, it'll hurt your fucking soul.
Exactly. That's why you got to be detached and basically be like a TISM kid painting his toy figures.
Oh. That's a good analogy.
I mean, it's really just vile, repugnant stuff. And I mean, you take a look at these people, and I mean, they're willing to just go forth and even if you, like Sticks and Hammer was saying, you know, while the spirit cooking stuff has a lot of occult symbology, it's more of a mishmash than any sort of specific ritual, but it's just stuff that seems utterly vile. It's without any concern for hygiene, sanitation, or anything. It's literally, let's mix blood, breast milk, and cum together, and let's just slurp it all down. I mean, if these are the things these are the things these people engage in and are willing to, at least have it be somewhat publicly known and just say, oh, it was an art performance piece, what are they doing in private?
Good fucking question.
Yeah.
There was I'm having trouble locating the full thing, but and it's still more and more our stuff is being uncovered about it. But some people on Reddit from the Donald subreddit have been digging into this, and the people connected with all of this child sex abuse stuff. There was evidently a woman by the name of what was her name? Lisa, some woman who was caught abducting children in Haiti.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it was like 30-something kids. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what her name was. No, Laura. Laura Silsby. She was former director of the New Life Children's Refugee in Haiti, and she was caught trying to steal 33 children from the country. And you have to assume that, she didn't start off trying to steal 33 kids at once. She started off smaller, worked her way up, and just got...
one at a time, then 2, and then 4, and then 5, yeah.
And remember, you know what else is in the Caribbean? St. James Island, owned by Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. There was some... but I'm having trouble finding it. If I can find it...
What's short for Lolita?
Lowly.
Yeah.
Lowly.
The Lowly Express, but...
talk about lowlies and lollipops?
Lollipop. Oh,
aren't lollipops just lowlies?
That
lollipop.
That yeah. But there's some additional evidence that's been found that's just relating to who owns certain pieces of property, etc. Hillary had an interest in Laura Silsby, and some of the emails in the archives have been found discussing this individual and what she was doing. Basically, it's seeming like there's this interconnected web, but one of the most disturbing things I've seen so far is one of the properties owned by one of the individuals that are implicated in this web basically is off in, I believe, Hawaii. And there have been evidence that basically this property has been, it has no real industrial applications or anything else. But one of the things that's been delivered to this property is the sort of chemical reagents and solvents you would need to render down and dispose of a human body.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that's just a crazy conspiracy there, Goy.
I mean, after you've ritualistically raped the child, you're going to have to dispose of the body somehow, right?
Another thing I wanted to bring up really quickly is Jews will say, it's nothing, Goy. Nothing to see here. Just libel against the Jews. When it's the same sort of accusations, very, very similar accusations from all across the world, including Arabic countries. And Arabics, Persians know a lot about this. It's very well documented there. And over 1,000 years, then that's just one big coincidence now, ain't it?
Well, the thing is, the blood libel as a concept, not as, just another reference to Jewish ritualistic murders, but, blood libel as a whole. You accuse the group that you don't like, that, they murder children, etc. It's something that's been leveled by a lot of groups at a lot of other groups throughout history. And there's a lot of times you can see, there's isolated incidences of it being that accusation being leveled throughout history where it's pretty apparent that It's just, some sort of propaganda piece. They are the other. They do not follow our ways. They will kill our children. But the thing is, that accusation against the Jews has been levied against them throughout history. Everywhere they go, it follows them. It's the same sort of thing, the Jews have been kicked out of every country in history, and it's never the Jews' fault. It's always the Goyim that just hate the Jews for absolutely no reason. And at the same exact time, the Goyim always say, oh, these people like killing children for ritualistic purposes.
My take on it is that, they claim descent from an ancient civilization, right? Ancient Israel, this ancient,
trace back up to the Phoenicians, etc.
Yeah,
and
pretty much every ancient society practiced human sacrifice until they became sufficiently advanced. They realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't exterminate our children. That's bad.
I mean, if you trace
I'm not
it
doing
back,
it though.
Hold up, Larry.
So what happens is, the
further,
societies do develop over time, and virtually all of them dumped child sacrifice. Now, when you try to bring up that, hey, there's this fringe cult of Jews, not all Jews, but a very tiny amount that might be doing that, the response is, well, how could you say that? Sure, we claim to be descended from an ancient civilization, but absolutely none of us practice anything associated with that ancient civilization. What are you talking about? It's just, can't you admit that these happened or exist and condemn them? Don't defend these people. And that's what makes this so horrible, is that they can't say, it happened, we condemn it. They say the Goyim are just making it up.
Yeah, just deny everything. I mean, you take a look, and if you go the Phoenicians the Jews would have descended from, and you go back even further, you're going to get back into Sumeria and Babylon, aren't you, in part?
Basically, the Babylon of Nebuchadnezzar. And
they were big on human sacrifice. Right back there, even back then, when you're talking about that area and that time in history, you have that's where the Bronze Bull was from, wasn't it? That's the time of the Bronze Bull, right? The execution method.
Mm-hmm.
Or who are you asking?
So, yeah.
Oh, that's where the Bronze Bull was from, wasn't it? That region of the world.
Yeah, the one you put the kids in. It's like an oven.
Yeah, I thought it was an artifact from the age of Tauros.
Oh.
And that was the region that did it. And that when it's a golden bowl, then it's a Molech.
Oh. It's really, really disturbing stuff.
Yeah, it's sick shit.
Have you guys heard about the theory of the Jews being tied up to the archons?
What's this?
Oh, no, don't. This is a whole...
Archon?
We're in the conspiracy theory zone. Okay, I thought we wanted to do conspiracy theories. Okay.
Here's one thing I'll bring up.
That's great, but we're already 3 hours into the second hour.
Yeah, I know. Well, for anyone who wants to investigate that, John Lash, he talks all about it.
Talk about it again.
I wanted to bring it up really quickly. There's a good 8-poll thread on this, I think a year ago, but it stuck with me, that an Anon just came to the realization that, hey, given all the Jewish ritual murder and what the vampire mythos is, and how they're pale with hunchbacks and gaunt skin, they don't like the light, and actually back in the day, the original mythos, that children were taught to throw coins at the vampire, and they would be distracted and have to count the coins to get away from them.
Yep. No, that is
basically
not true.
That basically vampires are kikes, and the vampire mythos was a way of parents telling their kids in an easier
warning
to
signs
way, hey, stay the fuck away from Jews, without having to get into ritualistic murder too much.
Well, then you take a look at, this whole ethos of them being proud about the horrific things that they do. And then you take a look at the proliferation and the promotion of the vampire genre, and it's just them boasting and gloating about it.
Yeah, even Adam Sandler voiced that animated vampire with that hot vampire daughter. Right. Don't tell me they weren't trying to make that vampire daughter fucking hot.
Graham, hang on. We're going to do a whole vampire episode We've been trying to get to this for like a while. We're going to do vampires.
Did I just blow your load there?
Nah. You just edged just a little bit. We still got the load in store.
Yeah, no, I'm right there.
The good thing about this podcast is that you guys have a lot of like post-Trump material lined up. I think the number 2 and 3 shows are going to be struggling a bit.
Oh, I know.
No, we have plenty of material. We are the number 1 tier 2 podcast on TRS.
No way.
Yes.
Wow.
That is the meme. I have permission from the kike in charge I'm Mike Enoch is what I meant to say.
The tiers are based on a height cutoff, right?
Well, you're on the show, Larry, so.
Well, I go on every show. I mean, I want to do the rounds.
No, you don't.
So where are you in relation to Bongo Bongo Book Club?
Like a light year and a half ahead of it? What are you talking about? Where am I? Where is this show? Hazard.
Bongo Bongo Book Club.
Where are we in relation to Bongo Bongo Book Club?
We are much better. We are much better.
Light years.
All right, guys.
Is the word light years?
Yes, that is correct. If you're using it for distance.
Who cares? It's slug.
All right. Is there anything else we want to talk about on this very special emergency episode?
Yeah, we did do all that, and the fact that the spirit cooking thing was trending and that our political party's leaders were participating in some sort of satanic occult rituals, it seems.
Well, even if it's like Sticks and Hammer said, even if it's not necessarily a ritual in and of itself, it's a lot of bad mojo and just a lot of really repugnant things.
It's art, okay?
No,
it's just art. Deal with it.
Yeah.
And just on a purely exoteric note, what these people are for in the first place is the form of evil that they want white Western civilization to be replaced, and that they're pretty gleeful about this. I mean, Joe Biden is a great example. He's given multiple speeches where he's like, white people are going to be a minority, and that's great.
Oh,
so to think that, exoterically these people show that they want to destroy the West, it's the esoteric stuff, whether it's true or not that they're doing, it shouldn't surprise anyone, I think.
Right.
It's because we're God's people. We are archangels. We're
Odin's chosen people.
Mm-hmm.
We're Odin's chosen,
we were forged.
Odin's frozen people. I like
Stop it. Odin's frozen pizza. That's the name of this topic.
Odin's frozen pizza.
Well, don't worry.
Does Odin's frozen pizza skimp out on the cheese and the pepperoni? Because I'm getting real disappointed with Totino's.
Cheese, they don't skimp on pasta or walnut sauce.
Actually, this is a great.
That's Jewish frozen pizza, not Odin's.
This combines both the Mediterranean and the Nordic pagan traditions. Odin's frozen pizza.
Right.
This has legs. We're gonna go somewhere with this.
We are gonna do this. It's not going to be.
Guys, my wife is telling me we need to go head out.
All
right,
it just so happens that this wraps up this episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the live show, we played a creepypasta called The Lost Episodes that a lot of people said genuinely spooked them. And, it actually has a sequel. And I have gone ahead and done that. So y'all get to enjoy that this week.
So we're going to do a Hazard McRee creepypasta at the end of this.
I'll never think of creepypasta the same again.
No, dude. You obviously don't listen to the show. We do creepypasta.
Well, I mean pasta.
Oh.
Boy.
Johnny, we really need to make sure we actually spell out creepypasta and don't just label it CP.
Right. No, from now on, I won't send you the file as CP. But, hey, the Paranormies, are on Twitter. It is at @the_Paranormies. And we're on SoundCloud.
Look, what do you think? They're transmitting their fucking energy here. Fuck God.
The picture I just put.
They might as well be exchanging blood coming out of their mouths, seeping into each other's mouths. And
for the benefit of the listeners, it's a picture of Marina Abramovich and Jay-Z where his mouth is agape and her hands are on his shoulders. And
it's a really disgusting picture, by the way.
He basically looks like her little pet magic nigger.
Yeah.
Oh,
essentially.
and since we're doing announcements at the end because we forgot at the beginning because we were so easy to get in, we'd like to give a shout out to Kevin. You know who you are. He sent us a donation of $14.88.
Yeah, we get donations. All right, yeah, no, it's great. You guys keep donating or not or whatever. It's great. We'll keep putting out content as long as the universe keeps giving us shit to talk about.
There will be a never-ending supply.
Yeah, with this fucking cycle of election weirdness. Lawrence Murray, thanks for coming on and hanging out with us the second hour.
Yeah, it was great talking to you guys about horrible things.
Yeah.
Right. Tacitus, thanks for coming on, bud. We will have you on again for sure. You are our conspiracy link to CultureConf. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, and a quick announcement. CultureConf is back to regular programming now.
Oh, thank God.
We've been on a bit of a
And
hiatus.
Emily, you want to chill your cartoon real quick?
Yeah, if you guys don't know who I am, I recently raped Gavin on his own show, so just Google Emily Yukis and Gavin. Not the first interview, the second interview, that was the one. And I just put out a new cartoon called The Ascent of Alfred about Donald Trump's victory. It's going to happen in just a couple days, so it's a historical piece.
It's an historical event.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And thanks for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun.
No, it's cool. Yeah, no, you can come back on anytime you want.
Oh, thanks.
You know, Larry, you're always welcome. And Tacitus,
I mean, I was
you have
baited
to.
a little bit. I thought we were going to talk about Keck and how Keck was at war with Moloch, but another
We can
time
do that
perhaps.
in the post. No, we can do that in the post and add that on the end. Or not.
No, I mean, really, the only thing that really needs to be said is the fact that Keck and Moloch are both roughly from the same time period.
Mm-hmm.
Are they?
Yeah.
Egypt. And that's what Crowley was studying, too,
Yeah,
so he
if,
knew about meme magic.
If only Weave were here, he'd tell us that the old gods were returning, so we'll just have to say it for him.
That's
They
insane.
sure
We
are.
should save that for that Weave episode. Larry, you come back with that. We'll talk about Keck, Moloch, Weave, and Wotan.
Yep.
Yeah? No? Maybe?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been an interesting show for sure. It's been an interesting fucking weekend for the Paranormies.
Oh, wait, did you hear Donald Trump almost got assassinated?
Yeah, I
What?
saw it on 8pol.
When? Hold on. You can't
Uh,
interrupt my outro.
an
and
hour
tell me
ago.
that. Why didn't you do that 5 minutes ago?
I should have. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry I waited till like the last fucking second.
No, what happened?
Just go to 8pol.
He almost got assassinated. He's okay, though, guys. He's okay.
The
He's okay,
Secret Service
okay.
pulled him away with no explanation.
Anyway,
Can I do the thing?
yeah. He's fine. He's
right.
alive.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys next week. I am Johnny Monoxide for Hazard McRee. Adam Haight is not with us today. He's wage cucking for the evening. And Greyfield Stray is on unlimited leave. We have been the Paranormies present the Ahnenerbe Hour. We'll see you next week.
As best as I can recall, I found the old VHS tape in a cardboard box on someone's front lawn. The yard sale signs had pointed me there, and since I'm big on finding cool old junk without paying extortionate eBay prices, I was game. The box was marked 25 cents, but just to show how much of a cheapskate I was, I had to ask. 25 cents each, or for the whole box? The butch redhead shot me a glare, then her expression softened. Well, that's my asshole ex-boyfriend's shit, but I'm not an idiot. I rummaged around in the moldy-smelling, slightly damp container. Nothing seemed that interesting. There were a few dusty action figures I didn't recognize, and a Nintendo controller with its cord stripped and frayed. Then, my hand found something hard and square, something brick-like at the bottom of it all. Sid's video. That's what was written in thick red marker on the VHS tape's stark white label. "What's this?" I asked the redhead. "Who the hell has a VCR anymore?" I did, but there was no reason for her to know that. I don't know. I told you. That's my ex's shit. Sid? I asked, not really intending anything by that. No, she replied. And how is that any of your business? I'll give you a dime. I reached into my pocket and extracted the coin, just to see what it is. The redhead got up from the rainbow lawn chair she'd been inhabiting, stormed over to me until we were nearly nose to nose, and took the tape from my hand with a rude yank. Just as suddenly, she threw the tape to the sidewalk and mashed it in with one hippo stomp. Black plastic shrapnel shot up a few inches from the pavement. It's all yours, she mumbled, storming away once more. For a few moments, I stood there in a bit of shock. Then slowly, carefully, I retrieved the mashed casing from the ground. Thanks a bunch, I passive-aggressively called out to the yard sale bitch. Honestly, the thought crossed my mind that Sid's video might somehow, some way, be footage of the girl herself. You know, in a bit of a compromising position. It was a long shot, totally unlikely, but it occurred to me that leaving the tape there would be letting pride overtake my interest in the item. Besides, even if it wasn't smut, it could have been something strange. I was a big fan of strange at that point. I put the video aside for a while, thinking that at some point, when I had nothing better to do, I would see if there was any point in trying to save it. There are tons of things around my house. Tons of broken, weird things that I intend to get to someday. The video fell by the wayside, just another piece of clutter in a hoarder's paradise. Then came the night I decided to rewatch a film, Jaws. I popped the VHS tape into the VCR, both of which I'd had since childhood, having taken them, along with other videos, when I left my parents' house long prior. The classic opening scene, the steady build-up, I'd always loved the movie. It wasn't until the end that I noticed something strange. You know how it ends. We all know how it ends. Jaws ends up with an oxygen tank in its mouth, then boom! A single bullet detonates it along with the evil monster shark. Not this time. Roy Scheider took the fateful shot and missed. I was quiet for a second as my mind took in this change. Before I could even register what had just happened, that something impossible had occurred. My eyes were already following the ongoing footage. Jaws worked the tank out of its razor-toothed maw. The ship continued to sink. The shark slowly, agonizingly, devoured Scheider, and he kicked, flailed, and screamed bloody murder. "It wasn't supposed to end this way," he shrieked, seconds before the teeth clamped down and pierced his lungs. Only a bloody gurgle issued forth after that. Then Richard Dreyfuss surfaced. "Oh, God," Richard said, sickly, already exhausted from the ordeal he'd suffered previously. "Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God." That dreaded fin sliced through the waves, and Richard disappeared under the surface. He only reappeared once. After that, one bloody eyeball dangling from a fresh gash in the side of his face. With a quick, quiet splash, he was gone again. The video played on for minutes on end. Just sparkling waves, open water, a long shot of empty sea. There were no credits, no closing theme, nothing. I watched, perplexed and terrified, until the tape ran out and the loud roar of static overtook the screen. My thoughts ranged from what the fuck to how the fuck. I studied the Jaws cassette for any signs of anything. It looked the same as it always had, right down to the mysterious stain that marked its label since the early 90s. Someone, I concluded, must have switched the tape out while I'd been away. Never mind the how or why, especially since there was no how or why. I was sure this had to be the case, since there was no other logical explanation. Testing this theory, I returned to the shelf that displayed my video collection. Pushing aside Sid's video, I retrieved my copy of The Fifth Element. It happened again, and again it was at the end. The film is a bit obscure, so I'll elaborate for those who haven't seen it. In brief, an evil planet is hurtling towards Earth. If it reaches Earth, everyone dies. It should come as no surprise to you that the good guys win and the bad guys lose. The evil planet is destroyed before impact. Or rather, it was until now. I made the mistake of watching the entire movie all the way through, expecting to see differences elsewhere in the story. I got into the story and nearly had forgotten why I was watching until the change came. The fifth element, that white light of creation, didn't activate. The crucial character died of her injuries, died in Bruce Willis's arms, and while he wept, the world ended. First, the evil planet collided with the Earth. The film switched to a pulled-back shot of the impact, then focused in on different characters. The main cast was obliterated, since they stood at ground zero. They were immediately reduced to black and ash. Every other character, no matter how inconsequential, was shown burning to death in gory detail. Oddly dressed stewardesses and armor-heavy police screamed in terror as wave after wave of searing heat battered their carcasses against the ravaged space-age landscape. I watched, again until the tape ran out, as the Earth itself crumbled. It was the same with every tape I tried. Alien ended with Ripley dying from acid exposure. Batman, the Tim Burton version, closed in the motionless face of Bruce Wayne, the lethal Joker Venom twisting his face into a pale grin. Movie after movie, bad ending after bad ending, it was all the same. Even TV shows and concerts I'd recorded in my youth had been altered. A 90s Metallica show closed with the bandstand collapsing on the group. The audience, fleeing from the carnage, trampled itself into a crimson paste. It didn't take me much longer to realize what you've most likely caught on to. Sid's video. Silently, just as carefully as I'd first scooped up the broken tape, I removed it from the shelf and began picking over the cracked surface. Somehow, I knew that this object was the cause of this strange occurrence. Working meticulously, I glued together the bits I could and taped up the rest. In the end, I was left with an incredibly ugly yet functional VHS tape. "Well, Sid," I said to no one in particular, "let's see what this is all about." It was a cartoon. A strange cartoon. The entire video was just this little cartoon guy walking across a never-ending loop of idyllic scenery. The same identical scene repeated itself throughout. Well, that's not entirely true. Every so often, a flicker of static or a horizontal roll brought on by the damage had a strange effect on the scene. Sid would jump, and I don't mean jump like the picture would shift. He actually jumped in surprise, his tiny brown shoes leaving the cartoon soil. When the screen would roll suddenly, he seemed to wobble as if he was unsteady on his feet. Nothing seemed to get him down, however, as the little man continued walking on after every jolt. "Are you Sid?" I asked, again really addressing no one. Now I was the one who jumped, as the little man stopped in his tracks, turned to look directly at me, and gave a jolly wave. "Hi there," came a happy little voice from the television speakers. The next few days were spent in a haze of morbid curiosity. I dug up every movie I owned. VHS tapes, DVDs, anything. I threw in a few music CDs and tapes as well, just to see what happened. I figured out that leaving the videos next to or on top of the broken tape had much the same effect across the board. Shaun of the Dead, for example, was a little less funny when he and his girlfriend had their throats ripped out by the ravenous zombie hordes. The music remained completely unchanged, however, which felt a little disappointing. It's absurd to think I actually felt cheated when I found no effect there. The weirdest video by far had to be a Dora the Explorer DVD I picked up in a thrift store binge. I figured that Sid, if that was the little guy in the Infinite Paradise, might have a more interesting effect on another cartoon. I'd never seen Dora the Explorer before that night, but I made sure to watch every episode all the way through so I'd know enough to spot any small tweaks. Imagine my surprise when those tweaks stood out like a sore thumb. The show apparently revolves around several life-or-death situations where Dora will turn to the viewing audience and ask the children what she should do. Kids' voices scream the answer like good little Stepford brats, and Dora continues on her mad quests. This time, however, there was no help to be found. Dora hung from a cliff's edge and looked toward the imaginary camera. "How can I get off this ledge?" she asked. There was no answer. She stared blankly, out of the screen.
her expression never changing from that slight smile. "How can I get off this ledge?" she inquired again, no more frantic than she had been before. "How can I get off this ledge?" A few of her fingers loosened as fatigue started overtaking her small form. "How can I get off this ledge? How can I get off this ledge? How can I get—" Her hand slipped. She dropped like a stone. Her expression remained calm, vapid, as the footage followed her all the way to the rocky valley floor. There, she landed with a gruesome bounce and laid still. Cartoon blood pooled around the child's broken body. The rest of the DVD beyond that episode was affected just as clearly. Every following episode consisted of shifting backgrounds and a myriad of wild animals who would walk on screen, stand there dimly, then wander back off. There was no main character. There was no Dora. I have to say that looking back on things, I feel almost privileged to have seen the episode where Jerry falls from his apartment window and lands directly on George. Similarly, watching a version of Finding Nemo where Nemo's never born and his father commits suicide was really intriguing. It seems fish have a tough time with that sort of thing, but he managed. FYI, Breaking Bad is an entirely different experience when Walter and Jesse are gruesomely murdered at the end of the first episode. I want to say everyone is a lot happier from then on, but unfortunately they all met untimely ends of their own as well. By season 4, it was just a series of vacant sets and Gus running a chicken restaurant until he died screaming in a sudden grease fire. I was kind of enjoying it. Call me what you will, think whatever you want, but I felt like I'd stumbled across something special. That one cheap find of something priceless that I'd always been looking for. Still, I wanted to see more, to know more. What else could I do, though? How else could I test the effects of this dark, funny little tape? I was reading through TV Guide when I realized what my next step would be. Sleepy Hollow, a new fantasy horror show, was premiering that night. I removed the DVD player and replaced it with the VCR once more. Then I put Sid's video into the machine. I pressed record. My mind raced, along with my pulse, as the little red light blinked. I was recording over Sid's tranquil environment, and I couldn't wait to see what would happen. Sure, maybe the whole thing would come to an end, but it was just as likely I'd discover some new trick he could do. The screen flickered. A fleeting burst of static interrupted the show. Was it the video, or just a glitch in the network's transmission? Flicker. Static. Before long, I was sitting in front of a violent strobe light of chaotic, hissing noise. Characters on screen were shot, slaughtered, beheaded, and I wasn't sure if that was supposed to happen or if something was being changed live, right in front of my eyes. Then, characters who had been killed started appearing again, only to quickly suffer more gruesome and cruel fates. Characters would stumble on screen with missing limbs, gaping holes in their torsos, heads ripped open and bones exposed. It was never the same twice as the sickening slideshow unfolded before me. Finally, when I could bear no more of the sickening, senseless mess, the screen cut to black. Stark, empty, endless black. Though the room was relatively dark, a chill washed over me as I noticed no reflection on the screen. Leaning forward on the couch, I picked out a small pinpoint of white on the otherwise dark screen. It was as if one single pixel had remained when all around it disappeared into nothingness. The light grew. Soon, I could make out a form dimly lit by a glowing, pulsating square beside it. As the figure came closer, that fuzzy glow illuminated its silhouette. Its feet hovered well off the ground, or the darkness where ground would be. Its limbs seemed knobby and contorted, like those of a corpse. The figure's head lolled to one side, and the square of light that traveled with it seemed to float just a few inches by its side. The figure stopped as it nearly took up the entirety of the screen. The shimmering square seemed to display its own contained span of static. Thinking it was clearly time to remove Sid's video and get rid of it, I turned on the lamp next to me. As soon as light filled the room, it also illuminated the figure on the screen. It was as if that light had pierced the television glass itself and cast an immediate and horrible beam across that face. That wretched, worm-eaten, desiccated face. its missing eyes hooded by tattered lids, its yellow-toothed mouth pulled back in a post-mortem grin. Now I could make out the object it had arrived with. Another television set, its wires weaving in and out of the cadaver's flesh. Its screen now displayed the same image I was viewing, a smaller corpse, a smaller television, and on that screen, another identical copy of the grim sight. The levitating corpse raised one fetid, withered hand, the skin on its arm crackling and tearing as it did so. Its mouth, however, did not move as it spoke. "Hi there,"